Hello and welcome, crafty friends. I'm Lisa, and thank you for joining me on the Whimsy Stamps channel for another video tutorial. As some of you may know, Whimsy Stamps has been releasing their own line of toner card fronts, and I thought it would be fun to share some of my tips and tricks and a quick card process with you today. Now, before we get too deep into this video, I do want to remind everyone that Whimsy Stamps is located in Punta Gorda, Florida, and that area took a very hard hit from Hurricane Ian. Now, I've included more information down in the description that the owner, Denise Lynn, has asked us to share each time we post. Please take a moment to read over that info, and thank you for your patience and understanding during this very trying time. As I mentioned earlier, Whimsy Stamps has been offering their own line of toner card fronts. Now, for those who are not familiar with toner cards, they are essentially a black and white pattern paper that can be foiled because they're printed with a toner, which is a fine powder instead of a liquid. Now, the toner, once it's reheated, acts like a glue for our foil, which brings us around to what type of foils you can use with the toner cards. It has to be a reactive foil like Deco foils. Now, you can find Deco foils in the Whimsy Stamps online shop. A lamination or foiling machine such as the Mink machine is required. Now, a little later in the video, I'll share my process and some tips I use to ensure the best results every time I foil. So let's talk about different ways to use toner cards. The first method involves foiling over the printed design, which is exactly how toner cards were intended to be used. So here I just used a rainbow foil with the toner card and ran it through my Mink machine to foil it, and you can see I have this gorgeous design. Next, I want to talk to you about skipping the foil altogether and using your patterns to do ink blending. Because this is toner ink, that black is very vivid. It just pops right off the front of these cards. And it's great for stamping on, and you can also ink blend over it, as you see I did here. So I just added a little bit more to my background with some stamps from Whimsy, added my sentiment over the ink blended backgrounds. And we're going to actually do a quick card like this at the end of the video so that you can see just how easy this is and how quick it comes together. Let's talk about what you can do with negative foil left over after foiling one of these card panels. Now, you can buy toner sheets that will allow you to use the leftover foil, but you can also use double-sided tape. Now, I have a large roll of double-sided tape. It's almost 5 inches wide that I keep on hand. And after selecting the color cardstock, in this case I used white, I lay the double-sided tape down over the cardstock and then carefully lay the foil over the tape, smoothing it out as I lay it down. It's a great way to make one product work twice as hard as it should. While we're talking about leftover foils, I want to share another way I love using them, which allows me to mix and match my patterns to create unique designs. This awesome technique sometimes allows me to foil one panel 2, 3, and sometimes 4 times. So toner card packs can be used together, so I want to urge you to grab them all and take a look through them. Here I have the Shells 1 pack and the Terror 1 pack. Both have an A2 size, and this technique works best with the same size toner cards. Although you can mix and match Slimline and A2, I just find I get the most use out of each panel by using the same size. So while I was looking through my packs, I noticed the coral in the Shells 1 pack looks like veins. And I thought it would be perfect to foil with the splatters from the Terror 1 pack. So I decided to foil the coral pattern with a purple foil. And then I want to show you how I go about doing this because I'm telling you, it's a game changer. I have so much fun when I sit down and I start foiling these different designs together. So let's go ahead and walk through how this works. So I have my toner card here, and I'm going to go ahead and cut a piece of purple foil. Now, what I like to do is use a self-healing mat, which I have laid out there, and a ruler and just an old craft knife. And I'm going to cut this foil down so it's just a tad bit larger than my panel. Once I have this cut, I'm going to take a Swiffer and I'm going to dust the inside of my carrier sheet. I'm going to dust the toner card panel and the foil. And when we foil, the silver side goes down and the pretty shiny side goes up. So we want to make sure that we're wiping down that silver side of the foil. And the reason that we do this is it helps to remove any little specks of dust, glitter, anything that might be floating around your craft room. If it's on your foil or your toner card, it can interfere with the foiling process. So by taking the time to wipe everything down, you're actually going to ensure the best possible results. So we're going to run this through my ink machine, and then we'll have a look at how it looks once it's foiled. So here's our coral card panel foiled. And what I'm going to do with this is set it aside and I'll hang on to it to use later on. This is what I was after, the leftover piece. This is what I want to use with the splatters pattern from the Terra 1 pack. First, again, I'm going to use my Swiffer to wipe everything down and make sure there's nothing on the card panel or the foil, the carrier sheet. Then I'll line these two pieces up, the panel and the foil, and run those through my machine. So let's have a look at what we're left with. You're going to see there's some black areas there where the foil didn't adhere to the toner because there was no foil. You see our design in there, right? We're going to go ahead and take another piece of foil. This time I'm going to use an orange, and we're going to run this through our ink machine again. And it's going to cover up any black areas that are left behind. One thing I do want to point out to you is when you do this double foiling process, whatever you foiled the first time, when you run it back through your laminator or your ink machine, whatever you're using, it's going to knock that first foil's shine down just a notch. I love the look of it. It still has some shine to it, but it just takes a little bit of the shine away. Here you can see the end result. I love the way this looks with the purple splatters, and then we have the orange veining in those splatters. I think it looks like a virus. I think this would be super fun with the zombie card. So I promised a quick card process at the end of the video, so here we go. I have a panel from the Terra 1 toner pack, and I flipped it upside down so that I can just put some little tick marks on the back and divide this into 4 sections. Now you can do 3 sections, 4 sections, it's completely up to you. But I just flip it over, put my little tick marks so that when I take it to the paper trimmer, I know exactly where I need to make my cuts. Now, after you take it to the paper trimmer and you cut it, what I want to recommend is that if you need to make any trims around the edges, that you only trim from the left edge, the right edge, the top, or the bottom. You don't want to cut in between your panels anymore. If you do, it interrupts the flow of the scene and it just doesn't look right. So just remember, if you need to trim it down to fit on your card base, you want to take from the right side, the left side, the top, or the bottom only. So the rest of the process is very simple. We're using distress inks to do some ink blending on the white areas of our panel. And I'm using spiced marmalade, shabby shutters, peacock feathers, and seedless preserves. I'll have all the information linked down below for what I'm using. Now I am using Whimsy's blender brushes. I absolutely love these. They're fantastic. And you can see that the toner card panels, they blend beautifully with this distress ink. I also use dye inks with them, and you most certainly could use distress oxides with it if you wanted to. So once I finish blending my ink onto these, I'm going to lay them out, temporarily adhere them together with a piece of Scotch low-tack tape. And then we're going to put this in my mini MISTI to do some stamping. So I'm using the Zombie Party stamp set. This is such a great stamp set because it has a lot of silhouettes of zombies. And I thought they would be a lot of fun to fill in our graveyard. And they're different sizes. So there's some large ones, some smaller ones. So it gives you the look of distance or depth in your scene there. And I'm going to go ahead and stamp the zombie across the moon and also the party. Now, there's also a sentiment in there, I do believe, disco. So if you wanted to create your moon to look like a disco ball, you most certainly could do that, and then stamp that would be a lot of fun. So I love this stamp set. I don't think it gets enough love. It's great for creating scenes like this on ink blended backgrounds because of the silhouettes of the zombies. So I'm almost done stamping. I just used my VersaFine Onyx Black ink. Now, I want to give you a tip about stamping on to anything that uses toner ink. You want to take a Q-tip and just clean those areas up where your ink might have landed on the toner inked up areas of your panel. It takes a little bit of time for the VersaFine ink to dry onto that toner area. So by taking the Q-tip and just lightly cleaning it up, you won't have to worry about smudges. You could probably take your heat gun and dry it, but I just went ahead and took Q-tips and cleaned it up. Then that way I don't even see that the ink was there to start with. So we're adding mounting foam to the back of each strip, and then we'll go ahead and add those to an A2 card base. I use a top fold card base. And I'm going to leave a little bit of space between each of these cut panels. I like the look that it gives. It's like each little panel has its own little story to tell, but put them all together and you get the big picture. So here I have the Bats and Bubbles dies from Whimsy. This has bats and stars on this one that I'm going to use. I'm going to run it through my die cutting machine with black cardstock and then again with white cardstock. But we're going to add some tiny little black bats to our spooky night sky, and we're going to add some white stars just to brighten it up a little bit. And that's going to wrap us up on this card. It comes together really quick, and I love the way that it turns out. So let me know what you think in the comments below about the different techniques you can use the toner card panels for, and mixing and matching those different designs. That's such a great way to get more use out of your toner packs. Everything I used is linked directly below for you. You can hop over to the Whimsy Stamps website and check it out. They are still taking online orders. It might be a while before they actually can ship those orders out, depending on how the situation is down there. So please keep that in mind. As always, you all know how much I appreciate you. Until next time, please take care.